I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Public Utilities Commission to order for Monday, March 1, 2021. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
and
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Justice for all. Indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
All right, you may be treated to some serenading by my dog. There's squirrels in the backyard, so I'm not sure there's anything you can do about that. All right, first order of business is public input. I don't think we have anybody from the public joining us so far, Kat?
No.
All right, we'll move on. Correspondence. I presume there's nothing new that came in, right?
No.
All right, in that case, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last regular meeting, which is February 1st, 2021. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Actually, Rich got his hand up, so motion by Rich, second by Paul. Any corrections or comments concerning these minutes?
No.
All right, hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. Bob Kozlowski. Oh, actually, we don't have a financial report today, do we?
No.
No, just invoices. Okay, well, all right. I'll put a motion on the floor then to approve the invoices for PUC approval dated March 1, 2021, 7 items and the grand total of $207,434.36. Is there a second? Second by Rich. Okay, take a look at those. Pretty much what we'd expect, I think.
Good.
If there's any questions for Tom about that, or Bob Kozlowski, or Marty? Marty's got some bills in there too.
Oh, nope.
All right, and hearing no questions, then I'll try your minds. Those in favor of approving these invoices, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Moving on to new business. I think there's nothing on the agenda for today, right?
No.
So we'll move on to director's report. Tom, the floor is yours.
Okay, a couple items. I know I had sent some correspondence out and I thought potentially the owners would be on this call. They indicated that they would be. The leak at Cherry Lane has been fixed. It was confirmed that it was on the common portion. It went pretty smoothly. We found the T that separates the two, and each of the buildings now has a curb valve with a box extended to grade. So everything's pretty clear now as to what's what out there. It'll remain as is unless any one of them decides they want to come in and install a new service and get decoupled from their neighbor. Part of any decoupling would be disconnecting it at the T so that that would be part of the disconnect. Other than that, we just got a few reports filed. I had some annual reports that we worked on. There's an emergency planning and community right to know, which got submitted. And then our staff has a cross connection, an annual cross connection and an annual watershed report. Both of those were filed with DPH. And last item on my director's report is just an update on our sanitary sewer rehabilitation. The plans and specs that are being worked on now by Weston and Sampson includes the sub area 14 excessive infiltration. So they're finalizing those plans and specs and should be able to get them to us for review next week. And I'm hoping then they're in good shape to recommend at our next meeting that we prepare to go out to bid to do those improvements. That's all I have for director's report, and I'll have some other items a little bit later on the agenda. If there's any questions.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Tom?
Tom,
Yeah, Rich, go ahead.
Yes.
was that repair on Cherry Lane our nickel or their nickel?
No, that was on the customer's nickel. It was after the curb valve, and since it was a common service line shared by both property owners, they were each responsible for half.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Tom, just so I'd like to know, who did the work?
Pembroke Pumping. They did it last Thursday and had it all wrapped up by the end of the day.
Okay, good.
What,
Any
Tom, just curious, what kind of line is that? Was that a copper line or an old galvanized line?
Well, it was at least the piece we recovered or the piece we replaced was a plastic line. So they pulled, they dug on either side of the driveway and they pulled a new piece of plastic through it. And the piece that got, that was leaking showed evidence of previous repairs. There was at least 2 other repairs on it.
All right, so up to where the new curb valves are, out to the main, or out on Cherry Lane itself, there's a new curb. There's an existing curb valve at the street for those 2 houses, correct?
Yes, we cut in a new curb valve recently because the old one couldn't be found. And Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the service pipe there was copper.
Yes, it was copper. It was copper to the in that area that they dug. So they dug down. They cut in a curb stop with a sleeve, but there was no other curb stop off the road there. I don't think there ever was one because when we got up near the house, there were 2 buried curb boxes up next to the meter pit. And as for that material, that was basically well line. Plastic back from the 70s. I mean, it was that old black stuff. And all they had is like the grippers with best example is a radiator hose clamp on them. But the 2 leaks that came up, it was hard to tell where that third leak, the present leak was, because this tool they use splits the plastic. But there were 2 repairs within a foot of each other. So, and that was renewed with that new heavy poly, that blue poly that you've got to put the strengthener in, and as well as 2 curb stops right in front of the meter pit in front of the house. So now we can distinguish, as Marty said, as Tom said, that there's a curb stop that will shut off the house in number 28. There's a curb stop that'll shut off 26. And there is a main curb stop back at the street that will shut down the entire line.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Any other questions for Tom? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Old business. First item up is 155 Greenwood Avenue. And I believe, Tom, this is the Dr. Volpin-Testa's former office, correct?
Yes, that is correct. I realized that while we looked at this project once, it was early on in the layout, and we didn't at that point approve a sewer allocation because we anticipated that there would be some changes to it. So I think they've been through their P&Z process, and they did make some changes. And I asked Dynas to prepare a revised sewer allocation number for us to consider and approve. It does exceed the 2,500 gallons per day that's required for PUC to approve it versus administratively. So I asked Dynas to appear in case there were any questions, but basically they've scaled it back. The main thing they scaled back was the size of the anticipated restaurant. They originally had 8,965 gallons per day that they were looking for. And now they have, they've come back in with 2,907. Basically, it's 18 one-bedroom apartments. That accounts for the bulk of that flow. That's 1,800 gallons per day. A 20-seat restaurant accounts for another 700. And then 5,434 square feet of retail office is another 407. So they have a total of 2,907 that's being requested that we need to get an approval from PUC. With that, like I said, I've asked Dynas to appear here today, and I'll turn that over to him if he has anything he wants to speak of or show, and if there's any questions, we'll go from there.
Matt, before we hear from Dynas, I just want the commission to know that if there's anything that you need from me on this matter, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I'm now representing Mrs. Volpentessa in the sale of the property.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting us know, Marty. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, to be formal about it, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the requested allocation of 2,907 gallons per day. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Dino. Great, thank you. The floor is open for discussion. And Dinas, you want to take it? Well, actually, before we get to Dinas, Tom, what do we have in the bank?
Okay, yes. This is in the Paul Street area. Right now, we have 176,794 gallons per day. So deducting 2,907 would leave us with 173,887. We started out with a bank back in 2016 of 200,000, which, if you recall, was 50% of the about 400,000 gallons per day that we basically were not using. So in effect, we've used about 26,000 gallons allocated since 2016.
Mm-hmm. And where did those were taken up by what? Mostly residential development, like the Summit and Bethel Crossing?
Well, I think they may have both been grandfathered in. I'm trying to think of any particular projects, whatever's come along recently.
For the downtown area, it's only anything in the downtown. And Bethel Crossing was included as it was grandfathered in. So those allocations are already accounted for.
Without having that list in front of me, Matt, I think the Grand is on that list.
The
Yeah.
Grand, Chestnut Street, all,
Chestnut Street,
kind of
I
stuff.
think 8 or 12 units that went in on Nashville Extension.
Probably Carluzzi's, I would think.
Carluzzi's, also Worcester Street. There was a 8-unit building that went in close to Durant.
You've got the one off of Juniper too. I can't think of the name of it right now, but there was the new stretch off of Juniper.
Yeah. Right, the little development. Yeah, I know which one you mean.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So
All right,
I think we're still doing pretty good as far as the bank is concerned.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm sorry, Dinas, go ahead. Floor is yours.
No, I enjoyed listening to the financial talk there about the bank and how much allocation. It's interesting to know. Tom, I think gave a pretty good synopsis of what it is we're looking for. This is the downtown development, the TOD, which I know a bunch of people were in favor of, and ultimately, as Tom had stated, the proposed uses seem to get a little less intensified, and primarily with the thought of a restaurant. Originally thought that there might be a restaurant or 2 restaurants in this cluster of buildings, and based on the reconfiguration of the development and the size of the buildings that are being proposed, the floor space, really wouldn't warrant a restaurant of such magnitude. So I mean, we pared back the restaurant use by tenfold, from perhaps 200 seats capacity to 20 seat capacity, and thinking now maybe like a little coffee shop or something of that nature. So quite a big reduction, nearly 7,000 gallons per day on the estimate, and that's really what drove the numbers originally. So again, right now we're asking for, I guess, a modest increase of capacity. Again, for the 18 units, which is 1,800 gallons a day, 700 gallons per day for the restaurant use, and then another estimated 407 gallons per day for the remaining retail and/or office space that might be utilized on the site. I can share plans with you if you want, or we can keep it short, however you prefer.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. I can't get my head around one thing. 18 units, and knowing the size of that physical space that's down there, and when you're talking restaurants, and I'm thinking parking, it's not in our purview. That's planning and zoning, but I just can't figure out where they're going to park.
I was gonna say, I'm just glad we're not in charge of parking allocation.
Yeah,
That was my worst.
exactly. Because I know the bank, I remember years ago, Charlie Steck asked me to take a look at perhaps buying that property from the bank. And at the time, the bank says, no way in the world are we considering anything like that. And I remember talking to Dr. V one time, and, he wasn't about to sell anything. But just thinking about the physical space, and if you have everybody in their apartment, that's 18 apartments, it's 18 parking spaces, and they're certainly not going to be working, especially on weekends. I says, if you have a couple of restaurants, I can't picture them parking in the allotted spaces. But it's not our purview. It's something that I can't get my head around.
Well, again, good question, and again, originally it would seem to be a much more ambitious thought as to what might or might not be going on this property, and like I said, it's been pared back considerably, but with the thought that residences and commercial users would be able to use parking interchangeably, in that residences generally are off and running when the stores are open, and conversely closed when people are home from their jobs. And that's kind of the thought. And again, the TOD, the whole thought of the TOD would be, maybe not everybody has a car. You're pretty convenient, although in this instance, it's a little bit of a hoof to get to the train station, but just the same, the whole point of the TOD is to allow people to make use of public transportation and kind of walk the downtown rather than have to drive everywhere. So I think that's the thought of it.
Like I say, I have no objections about, if they want the water, fine, and the sewage, no problem. But I'm just thinking about, like I say, it's not on our purview, but the congestion, I could see that on a Saturday, Friday night. And I know our library, when it's operational, that lot is usually full. So, where else is there to park? You only can park on one side of School Street. And downtown has got limited parking on the street on Greenwood. So good luck.
Yeah, they'll call my office.
You mentioned the coffee shop.
There's still
In addition to the restaurant?
Four build project.
I'm sorry, what, you broke up a little bit, Rich. What was that?
Go ahead, Rich.
Is it still a 4 building project? 4
So-
building.
Yes, we're proposing to keep Dr. Volpentesta's building up front, and then an additional 4 buildings. And the footprints are pretty modest, about 1,250 square feet each. And the building that's going to be on School Street is an L shape, and I think that tops out at about 1,300 or 1,400 square foot footprint. So pretty small, compact, but 3-story buildings are being proposed.
Will everything be sprinklered?
Good question. I suspect that it will be, although I can't state for a fact. We'll see, how things come through architecturally, and what the requirements would be from building code. But we've proposed to make things simpler and actually as a benefit to the town. We're proposing to interconnect the water main in Greenwood Avenue to the water main that's located in School Street. So we'll have a main that kind of runs along the front of these units, and should sprinklers be required, it would be an easy connection to that new main.
Okay. Would that be an 8-inch main?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
You had mentioned a coffee shop. Is that in addition to the restaurant?
No, so again, this just trying to come up with what the sewage flows might be. And again, the thought was that, well, first and foremost, the thought is that there's not really going to be a restaurant in this cluster of buildings. And in place of a restaurant, and the only type of food service that was, being thought was, either a little coffee shop or a delicatessen, something that, kind of, I think, limited hours, daytime hours, and not too intrusive into this development.
Okay. Any other questions for Tom or Dinas?
Yeah, just what, is this like a final approval from planning and zoning, or are you still going back and forth with planning and zoning on the size of the project?
No, but we've gotten final approval. I think there's still a little bit of, how's the building going to look type comments that may be going back and forth. But aside from everything else, we're pretty well set.
Okay.
I had one other comment that I think they're going to make
Sure.
a stipulation, and that was related to the water main. As I had mentioned previously, it's pretty close to the property line with the adjoining property, Wells Fargo Bank. So construction of that line, we're going to need easements from both this development's property owner and the bank's property owner prior to any construction starting, because obviously there's going to be an impact to the adjoining property. So that would all have to get submitted and approved and, and put on the land records prior to any construction or any, us allowing any water installation to happen.
It's not possible to keep it all on one property so we don't have to deal with two property owners?
Well, they're showing the main on the subject property, but it's only a couple of feet off the property line, Rich. So to install it and for us to have a future repair on it, if ever, and you got to dig over that line, you're going to impact both properties. So we're going to need an easement over the top of that main that gives us enough width to basically be able to get in there and do that.
Yeah.
Now, how many meters are being proposed for this, water meters? Each building separate or?
Yeah, we're proposing, because these are going to be rental units, we're proposing 1 meter per building. So we'll have I guess Dr. V's building already has its own meter, and we'll have an additional 4 meters proposed.
Okay. Any other questions? And hearing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve the allocation of 2,907 gallons per day as requested. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, so that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dinas, for being here. Appreciate it.
Sure, no, thank you for inviting me. It's always nice to see you all. Enjoy.
Great.
Thanks,
Take
Dinas.
care.
Yep, bye-bye.
Item number 2, Wright Pierce Amendment number 1 for engineering services. This is related to the Bergstrom well. Tom, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, this is now the next step in the process that we're all familiar with. We originally had the agreement with Wright Pierce to do the pilot study and preliminary engineering study. We've gotten that at that time. We went through the QBS, the qualification-based selection process, and got that approved, submitted that and got it approved through the Department of Public Health to make the engineering services expenses part of the overall project. So now this is just the next step in the process. We knew when we got to the design phase, there would be an amendment for design services. And I've gotten that from Wright Pierce and submitted it. And I noticed there was one correction to make on the document that was submitted, and a allocation for the wetland delineation was not included. So The numbers that they're looking for design need to be bumped up by an allocation of another 2,500. So what I've got is design services in the amount now, corrected amount of $473,340. And basically, this is going to get us the water treatment facility with the well pump, the generator, the water main connecting from the new treatment plant to our system, and then a forced main on the sewer side for the backwash water. So there's a lot there, but I think this was anticipated, and this is where we're at this point.
What was that number again, Tom?
The corrected amount should be 473,340.
473,340, right?
Correct.
And this is for design services?
Correct.
Remind us what the construction estimate is when we are through with design.
Okay. I didn't bring that to my fingertips, but it was on the order of 6 million plus, I believe.
How much?
6 million.
Oh, 6 million.
Yeah.
That's for the construction.
Is this for the physical structure itself, the filtration, the building, the guts of the whole
Yes.
pumping station? So you got 6 million there, and you have roughly, I want to say, you're at $597,365 if you include MCA and Wright Pierce and Earth Design. So really, we're looking at, say, $6.6 million for a completed project.
Yeah, Paul, don't hold me to that because I didn't, it's in the report. I don't have it. I can grab it right now, but I don't have that exact number right at my fingertips.
Well, I just took the three numbers, you know, the $10,500 or rather $825 for Earth Design, MCA for $13,100, and you had $473,340 for Wright Pierce, and then whatever it's going to cost to put up the whole facility itself. You know,
Right. Their sub-consultants plus their costs is what the total of 473,340 was.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, yes, construction. And again, that construction cost estimate had a 20% contingency on it.
Can I get a clarification, please? Are you saying that the cost for Earth Design Associates and I forget the other outfit, all right, they're not included in the numbers, that they're separate, they're going to be added on top of Wright Pierce's numbers?
If you have that document handy, Marty, page 7 has where the dollars are. The total engineering design includes the sub-consultant costs.
Right. It's 478.40, and that includes 35,587.
Well, yeah. Well, the new number now, Dino, is 38,087.
Yeah.
Right. You had to add 2,500 to both of the numbers that are in the document that were submitted.
Okay. Right.
So again, that includes all your engineering services for the complete water treatment plant building, including electrical, instrumentation, process control, the generator, you know, the water main design, the sewage force main design, the foundation for the building design, everything.
Does that include the construction admit?
No, this is just for design services. Future construction admin would be another amendment at that point. I don't think you could really put that number in now. That's why it's staged to have it as amendments, because you don't, you know, you need to get to the final construction design to really know what you're looking at.
But was
You froze, Rich.
Well, while he's being unfrozen, can I ask a question too? I noticed that where to conduct, it says the client is going to perform test pits along the water transmission route to locate potential ledge. Who's going to do that?
Yeah, I had him do it that way because he had his geotechnical engineer who's going to do borings for the building. He was originally proposing to do borings for the water main. And I looked at that as a little excessive. I didn't think I needed the geotechnical engineer to include borings. I thought we could just do a couple of test pits. We could probably get our backhoe to do it. And again, we're going to be down, we need to go down about maybe 5 to 6 feet to install the water main. He was proposing up to like a 10-foot depth. And I thought that was excessive. I thought that was something I can have him take off and we can basically do that ourselves. So yeah, I would ask our highway department backhoe to go out there and do a couple of test pits for us.
Okay. All right, further questions?
Yeah, let me just throw this out to the entire commission here. I think, maybe from just my perspective, I think we need to get our head around and our hands around the total project, what we think the total estimated may be. You know, certainly there's going to be escalation in terms of cost as we go forward. But right now, I just don't have a number, whether it's 6.6 million or is it 7 million or is it 5.5 million. This is what I'm grasping for.
All right, while you discuss that, let me grab the report that we had just submitted previously.
Okay.
Let me find the page that has it and I'll get you that number.
All right.
Yeah, I recall we discussed that a few months back, and
Yeah.
we looked at the estimated total cost and also looked at the problem of providing I don't know what I forget the term, buffer allocation or buffer capacity, and we're kind of stuck with the project because there's no way to get to that number without it.
Yeah, well, I understand it, but you know, time has passed here, and you know, we know that the construction costs are going to go up.
Yeah, yeah.
And my concern is
Sure.
we'll have to adjust water rates as we go further down the line here, but I'd like to just get a warm feeling of saying, okay, this is the range that
Yeah.
we're going to
Well,
be spending money.
Right.
Well, and also it's probably it's a 3-year project or maybe even 4 years before it's completed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of time to pay for it.
Oh, okay, I got the numbers here. It was in the original report. Chapter 7 had all the costing information for the various alternatives. And if you recall, we did look at siting the plant in a couple of different spots. Putting it down by where the existing well's been drilled has been determined to be the most cost effective and actually probably works out best for us. But the construction estimate they have with the water main, and I think the water main to get us from the well and where the new building's going to be out to Plum Trees Road was about 1,200 feet of water main. The total cost on that was estimated to be 6.5 million. And they've got a 20% contingency of another 1.3. So that alternative was 7.8 million.
And now your design is on top of that.
Design is on top of that. And what I gave to the rate consultant was approximately that 6.5 million. Again, I have to look back and see what I did there, but we definitely cranked in the higher cost of this project now that we have to treat for iron and manganese for him to crank into the rates.
This 7.8 million total, does that include the manganese and iron or not?
Oh yeah, that's the filtration system. That's
Okay.
That's the building. That's putting a pump, a motor and a pump in the well and getting the water, raw water to the treatment facility. That's the iron and manganese green sand filtration. That's all your electrical, your structural, your foundation, your building. That's the whole 9 yards, Paul.
Okay, then we have to just throw in the engineering design and all that on top of that then.
Correct. Now, again, we will be going through the DWSRF process for this. We no longer, there's a cap on how much of a grant we can get. We no longer get a straight 25% grant because this project exceeds, basically what they'll do as far as a grant goes. But there'll be $500,000 worth of grant that we'll be eligible for. So in effect, you can think about that's going to balance off with the engineering costs.
Well, and Tom, once they get the design done, they can look at the contingency. If the design is completed and get a cost estimate, maybe that contingency could come down quite a bit.
Mhm.
Yes, you're probably right, Rich.
Okay. You're going to need a motion to approve this, right?
Correct.
Okay, I will, to further our discussion, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between Town of Bethel and Wright Pierce Engineering for engineering services related to the Bergstrom well field, raw water transmission main, and iron and manganese removal water treatment plant in the amount of $473,340. There's a
Not
second?
to exceed.
Not to exceed. Second by Rich. Okay, further questions?
I had a
Water's
question.
expensive.
Now, Tom, do we have a handle on the operating costs? I know we discussed it before.
Yes, the estimate on operating costs from this facility, 173,200 per year. That's chemical feed of 28,000. Power is the bulk of that, 126,000 in electric. Labor of 7,200 and general maintenance of 12,000.
That doesn't include the disposal costs for the rinse, though.
No, but I think we determined the number of gallons on a daily basis. It was pennies, really. A year's worth of that discharge was not adding up to a whole lot.
Okay.
A couple of thousand maybe for the year.
I know. Tom, what was the time frame overall on this?
Well, what they're looking at now in this design proposal they gave us, they're looking at about a year, 300 days to get us to the 95% complete, and then another 30 days to get it to 100% complete. So basically 330 days, let's call it a year, to be in a position of having the design plans ready to go, which we would then be submitting to DPH for approval and then going out to bid right thereafter.
If I can just ask you again, does that include the approval time or the approvals on top of that?
DPH approvals, typically, it would not include their approval. It would then getting the plans and specs ready to be submitted to DPH for approval.
Okay.
And we're finding, DPH, the DWSRF staff are pretty good. We have a real good relationship with them. And typically we're seeing them approved in about a 30-day period. So we're not looking at months.
Okay, and bidding time would be about a month?
I would say you're going to give them at least a month, 4 weeks.
A
Sure.
month, 6 weeks. I'm just trying to get an overall feel for the time frame, and then construction would probably be a year.
Yeah, Rich, again, there was a schedule in here. Let me see if I find it. Yeah, they're probably looking at a year and a half at least worth of construction.
So we're talking almost 3 years from today before the water's turned
No,
on.
I'm sorry. Let me back up. They've got a construction phase on the schedule that I'm looking at from their previous report, April 22 through July of 23. So you're looking at a little bit, what's that? 16 months of construction?
Well, that's 16 months. Yeah, you're right. About a year and a half for construction, but we got a year for design and approvals.
Correct.
So we're talking 2.5, 3 years before water's turned on.
We're looking at 2023. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 24. Okay, I was just, for the time frame is to spread out for money, what I'm thinking about here too, Tom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that you can tell that to the rate guy about.
Well, we're really not going to get our loan approved until we actually award the construction contract. We
Yeah.
really can't get our hands on getting reimbursed for the design money because we're going to do it as one loan. So basically, once you go out to bid with your contractor, kind of like we did with DN Tanks, once they start to do construction, that first month in, I can backtrack and then submit for all the engineering costs at that point.
All right. I'm
So
good.
once construction starts, I'll stay current on a month-by-month basis of submitting for reimbursement every month as I get a bill from the contractor. And like I said, I'll catch up with the engineering early on in the construction process.
Well, let me throw this out to Marty. When would we have to go to the town for a referendum? Prior to the bid or after the bid comes in, Marty?
Oh, you're muted, Marty.
I would always prefer to go after we know what the bid is. Sometimes we can't do that. We have to estimate and go forward. So I think it depends on a lot of factors, but I'd wait for the bid if I could.
Okay.
Especially on this one.
That should be made clear to all the bidders, that it's subject to Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and town meeting approval, or if it's over $1 million, which I guess it's going to be referendum approval.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put some language in the contract documents to let the contractors know there's going to be X amount of time.
Now, are there any future regs coming up that are going to be affect the size of the building we may need, additional treatment equipment?
No, nothing at this point. And again, the report kind of touched base on a lot of the upcoming rules. Again, you don't really know till you know, but what's coming down the pike now is like lead and copper, a revision to that rule. I don't think that's going to require any additional treatment. We tested the well for PFAS. That seems to be a hot topic these days. We had very little PFAS. Other than that, I don't anticipate anything right now. Nothing's proposed.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the amendment as requested, not to exceed 473,340. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Thinking about what Tom just said, is there any additional space in the building just in case we have to add another filtration system? What I want to avoid is putting in another building up.
Well, I think as the design proceeds, Paul, that's something we can look at and talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those where it's a balancing act. Do you leave enough room for something in the future that you may or may not need?
Yeah.
That being the case, you're spending more money on that building because you're making it bigger.
Well, I understand that, but an additional, like, I want to say additional 60 square feet shouldn't add up to that much on a steel building.
It's something we can talk about as we get further into it. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions?
No.
So hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you. So Tom, PUC capital projects, whatever else is left.
Okay, I'll give you a brief summary on what's going on. Chestnut Tank, I would say the tank operations are going smoothly. I haven't seen any issues with it. Tank fills and drains probably 2 cycles per day and no problems. Work remaining. Of course, it's all snow covered right now. So there's a groundwater monitoring well that needs to be installed. There's the landscaping and then whatever punch list items we have. So I think they're going to be on track with, getting the project completed by the target date of the end of May. The current 2019 water main project, we're basically at the 1 yard line as far as getting everything connected. The mains have been installed. The last piece that he didn't get to before the weather turned on him was the final tie-in at Lindbergh. So the main is installed within a few feet of it. So what remains is that final tie-in, any permanent paving, and then the final permanent paving out on Route 53. Dollars wise, we came in pretty good. The extension down Highview that we did towards Lindbergh, the original bids for that alternate were 123,000, and the work that they just did to this point totaled up to be about 106,000. So with the final paving that's due on that piece, we're going to come in under budget, and I think the total project is going to come in probably close to the original 882,000 that was approved. So we did pretty good dollars wise on that one. The 2021, the next set of water mains, they're about complete as far as the plans and specs. They need a final review, and I'm I think at this point pretty close to going out to bid and then proceeding with the PUC, Board of Finance, and town meeting approvals. The Eureka Generator, we're still waiting on the muffler. It's been installed. They did some more of their electrical work. I know, Paul, you're interested in this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, call up Midas.
We're close. I'll keep you up to date. And the last project I wanted to talk about was our Scada project. If you recall, a year ago, we did that qualification-based selection process so that I could get the construction admin for the tank, the Bergstrom design, and also the Scada design approved to be included with our, the loan money and the grant money that we're going to get. So at this point, I have the design proposal from Wright Pierce for the Scada design, and I want to get that submitted to DPH so they get a look at it, make sure it meets all their checklist items, and then I'll be back hopefully at the next meeting for an approval on the design services for Scada.
Okay.
And
Great.
that's all I have.
Okay. Any further questions for Tom on those? All right, Kelly, you're up. What's leaving?
Okay, we got a few things. The MIUs, excuse me, the MIUs that I was speaking of last month that we had fail on us. We've got 315 of them completed in the past month, between having one holiday in there and also the snow kind of cut us back a little bit on that. Plus also one guy out on workman's comp, which I expect him probably to be out for the next, it's probably going to be at least 2 months. He had knee replacement. So that cut me back a little bit on manpower, but just trying to get the regular day-to-day stuff done. I think that's a pretty good number. Like I say, over 315 of them out of the way. Pretty much every one that has failed, they have dates on them, and I've been checking them, and they all have been from between June and August of 2001. So that goes to show they're 20 years old. And I think the expectancy was only supposed to be about 15 from what I've been. So they're working on those. Service leak wise, Tom talked about the one on 25 or on Cherry Lane. The day that was shut off, our numbers came down probably about 15 to 20,000 gallons a day. So we did quite well on that. So that was a big hit. Right now, I've got one service leak out there now. We sent a letter out to the homeowner on Oxford Street. We're giving them 10 days to take care of it. They're kind of lollygagging a little bit with it. So we've decided that we'll give them the 10 days and then we'll shut them off. Usually when the water gets shut off, that makes them move a little bit faster. Let's see, we had got a little bit of a communication issue between the Eureka Reservoir and the wells. I guess the phone lines we've had, since I've been here, we've had problems with the phone lines between the two. They go out, we call the phone company, they come, they do something in the box, they get it going again. Finally, we're trying to move towards cellular to get away from the landline, because we're having a lot of problems with the landline. So we're in the process again of getting a system where we can put a cellular line in at Eureka, which will read the tank levels, and that will talk to the wells, and that'll tell the wells at what speed they need to be running to keep the tank, the 750 tank, and also the 2 tanks that are in Eureka. So we're looking into that. We want to move forward to the cellular regarding the issues with that, because when this goes down, we end up wasting a lot of water. We have to set the water at a set pace, and sometimes we end up overflowing. So this way we do away with that overflowing portion of it. Rich, last month you had asked about the transfer switch for Paul Street. I was looking over the 2 quotes. Now I've got 2 quotes. I'm still waiting for Cummins to come back to me, because we do have Cummins in town. I reached out to him twice last week and once this afternoon, but one company gave me a cost for a transfer switch of $35,000. We're looking at anywhere from, we've got one quote from one company of 175,000, another quote from around for like another 120. So we really want to get that third quote in there from Cummins. Like I said, we've got Cummins sitting up at Boyd's Hill. The firehouse has Cummins. The South Street Station has Cummins. So I really think we need to get that third quote. And again, I'm waiting for this guy to come back. And I've got the name and the number, and I really want them to go through the building just like we did with the other 2, and them come up with their ideas as to what size we need. One company's still sticking by their guns that we need 350K. The second company come in, they said we could get by with a 220K KW, but they don't make such a thing. So it would have to be a 250 KW. But again, it's quite a difference between 250 and 350 in price. But we are moving on that. The system is somewhat tight. I shouldn't say somewhat. We're real tight compared to a month ago when we spoke. We had a lot of things going on last month when we had our last meeting. But with one service line that we have an issue with, that's we're pretty much in good shape. So we're tight. We're waiting for the weather to clear, and we'll get moving on our MIUs. Hopefully get back onto our hydrant mission, get all that taken care of. We have no more hydrants out of service due to any of the leaks. I do have one hydrant that they do hear sound on, but nothing crucial. But other than that, like I say, I'm down a man. It has no effect on us this time of year. It's between reading periods. Plus, I've got a second guy that I've had learned to do the readings, and also I will be out possibly. I'm going to say really no more than a week. I need to have some surgery on my shoulder, which I have planned for the 10th of next week, or well, the Wednesday of next week. But I don't see myself out more than a couple of days. But other than that, that's where we're at.
Okay, great. Yeah, Rich, go ahead.
Kelly, what happened up to Stony Hill on that backup?
Help me with it. Which backup we talking?
A couple weeks ago, you were out, and I called you. There was the water was coming out of the manhole at Stony Hill Station at the firehouse.
Yeah, it was a relay had tripped, and as soon as we got up there, we got to the relay, had a new relay put on. Both pumps are running, and it was just a relay that had tripped that we weren't aware of.
Okay. All right. I hate to ask this question, but do we ever have to report the spillage?
Major, yes, we are supposed to report that to deep, but we've been very fortunate that we've had very little actually bypass into the system.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any redundancy on that one relay caused both pumps to go off?
Well, this is the one that I'm waiting for the new unit to put in. This is the one I had the 2 rails put in. Now it's just that the scheduling of them along with our electrician to get it done. But when, again, I keep on patting this Andrew that works up at the dump. He's a crackerjack with electrical. He came up there and was able to get both pumps running properly and also both relays working. Basically, every one of our station is redundant. This is the one station that we did have an issue with that at the time we were running on 1 pump. But with him making some changes within the old panel, we are running, it is fluctuating back and forth between 1 and 2. We are in a lead lag situation right now.
Okay, well, that's why I was going to bring up, that's the way it should work. If one pump goes down, everything should be independent. One relay shouldn't be working both pumps.
Correct. And that's been cured.
Okay, all right, it's good news. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I think we have concluded the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, so Rich, seconded by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries, and thank you very much. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Marty. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Have a good night.
Thank
night,
you.
Good night,
Real
everyone.
soon.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.